Jack London. Jack London was born John Griffin Cheney on January 12, 1876 in San Francisco, California. After working in the Klondike, London returned home and began publishing stories. His novels, including The Call of the Wild, White Fang, and Martin Eden, placed London among the most popular American authors of his time. London, who was also a journalist and an outspoken socialist, died in 1916. His father was never part of his life, and his mother ended up marrying John London, a Civil War veteran who moved his new family around the Bay Area before settling in Oakland. Jack London's mother, Flora Wellman, was the fifth and youngest child of Pennsylvania canal builder Marshall Wellman and his first wife, Eleanor Garrett Jones. Marshall Wellman was descended from Thomas Wellman, an early Puritan settler in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Flora left Ohio and moved to the Pacific Coast when her father remarried after her mother died. In San Francisco, Flora worked as a music teacher and a spiritualist, claiming to channel the spirit of Sauk Chief Black Hawk. In 1900, London married Bess Madden. The couple had two daughters together, Joan and Bess. By some accounts, Bess and London's relationship was constructed less around love and more around the idea that they could have strong, healthy children together. It's not surprising then that their marriage lasted just a few years. In 1905, following his divorce from Bess, London married Charmian Kittredge, whom he would be with for the rest of his life. Armed with just an 8th grade education, London captured the $25 first prize, beating out college students from Berkeley and Stanford. Jack London was a 19th century American author and journalist best known for the adventure novels White Fang and The Call of the Wild. The success did little to soften London's hard-driving lifestyle. A prolific writer, he published more than 50 books over the last 16 years of his life. Thanks for watching. Had two daughters together, Joan and Bess. By some accounts, Bess and London's relationship was constructed less around love and more around the idea that they could have strong, healthy children together. It's not surprising then that their marriage lasted just a few years. In 1905, following his divorce from Bess, London married Charmian Kittredge, whom he would be with for the rest of his life. Armed with just an 8th grade education, London captured the $25 first prize, beating out college students from Berkeley and Stanford. Jack London was a 19th century American author and journalist best known for the adventure novels White Fang and The Call of the Wild. The success did little to soften London's hard-driving lifestyle. A prolific writer, he published more than 50 books over the last 16 years of his life. Thanks for
History
watching.
and Traditions of London. The capital of the United Kingdom. London is the capital of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. It's the largest city in Europe and one of the largest cities in the world with a population of about 9 million people. It's not only the capital of the country but also its chief port. London is situated upon both banks and the Thames, which is crossed by 17 bridges. The history of London. The history of London dates back many centuries. It has a very connected geographical position, and soon after the Roman conquest, a small town turned into an important trade center. London survived the plague which killed nearly 100,000 people and the Great Fire when most of the city was destroyed. London can be divided into four main parts: the City, Westminster, the West and the East End. The City of London. The city is the oldest part of London where the biggest banks, companies and offices are concentrated. It's quite small though very important because it's the financial center of the UK. The East End. The East End is the center of London where only wealthy people can afford to live. Luxurious hotels, supermarkets, best cinemas, theaters and concert halls. Beautiful parks and houses can be found in this part of the city. Westminster. Westminster is the administrative center of London where most of government buildings are situated. Westminster Palace is the seat of the British Parliament. The towers of the Houses of Parliament stand high above the city in Parliament Square. On the highest is the largest clock of the country known as Big Ben. The official residence of the Queen is Buckingham Palace, which was built in the 18th century. The West End of London. The West End of London is the industrial area of London inhabited mostly by the working people. This district is full of factories, workshops, slums and docks, and therefore always seems to be in smoke. English traditions. Every country and every nation has its own customs and traditions. You cannot speak about England without speaking about its traditions and customs. Englishmen are proud of their traditions and carefully keep them up. Englishmen are very fond of fireplace. That's why many of them prefer the open fire to central heating. They like to live in small houses with a small garden. People all over the world know the saying, "The Englishman's home is his castle." They say that English people keep to their traditions even in meals. Porridge is a dish Englishmen are very fond of. Many of them eat porridge with milk and sugar for breakfast. As for the Scots, for example, they never put sugar in their porridge. They always put salt in it. By the way, breakfast time in England there is between 7 and 9. Then between 12 and 2 there comes lunch time. In some English houses, lunch is the biggest meal of the day. They have meat or fish, vegetables, fruit or pudding. Some Englishmen have their dinner late in the evening. For dinner they have soup, fish or meat, vegetables, pudding or fruit. For supper they usually have a glass of milk and a cake or a cup of tea and a sandwich.
Sights of London. London is the capital of the UK. The red double-decker buses in London have become a national symbol of England and the British Isles. Westminster Palace and Big Ben. Westminster is the political center of London. It is one of the world-famous buildings in houses of the British Parliament, and he often called the Houses of Parliament. Buckingham Palace. Buckingham Palace is the name of the official residence of the Queen. Westminster Abbey. Westminster Abbey is the place where all British monarchs have been crowned. Many famous people are buried as unclaimed statesmen, musicians and writers. Westminster Abbey. You can find to the tops and monuments of many ancient British writers such as Shakespeare, Byron, Eliot of Author. The Tower of London. The heart of London is the city. The city is famous of oldest part, the Tower of London. Many years ago was a fortress and royal palace and prison and even royal zoo. How it is a museum. Red telephone box. Red telephone boxes are an